Have you ever worked with someone who you just didn't know which version of them you were going to get? One moment they're syrupy sweet, complimentary, warm, easy to be around, and the next moment breathing fire over something that was minor. You couldn't predict a pattern, and there weren't any warnings before the shift. Here's what I remember most about working with someone like that. It wasn't the fire that wore me down, it was staying ready for it. Every single day, recalibrating who I needed to be based on who they were going to be that day. And here's the harder truth: knowing that and understanding exactly what was happening didn't make it easier to walk in that door with a stable version of myself. Knowing was never the problem. Here's what I've noticed working with professional women for over a decade. Knowledge was never the problem. Most of the women I work with are smart, self aware, and well read. They know exactly what stable, grounded version of themselves looks like, in the same way that I knew it walking into that office. What breaks down is the return, the ability to come back to that grounded version of yourself over and over, especially on the days someone else's unpredictability is doing everything it can to knock you off it. Most approaches to stress and well being stop at the information. They hand you the insight and assume the insight will hold. Well, it doesn't. Not because you're failing, because insight was never designed to hold on its own, especially against someone else's chaos. I have a name for this now, and it's the final pillar of a framework I built called Mood Eye. It's the I for integration. Integration is what happens after the other four ideas have been introduced. It's not a fifth insight, it's the daily, imperfect practice of actually returning to the other four: the pause, the connection, the purpose, the balance. On the days when none of it feels urgent and all of it would be easy to skip. Most frameworks stop at explaining the parts. Integration is the part that asks, what does it look like to actually live this, not just understand it? And when we live it, we have a practice that will help us to manage ourselves in the presence of someone who, well, who cannot manage themselves. Integration doesn't come from a single wisdom tradition the way the other four pillars do. It's closer to a practice discipline, the recognition common across contemplative and therapeutic traditions alike, that transformation is rarely a single insight. It's a repeated return. Think about what the other four pillars actually ask of you. Mindfulness asks you to notice the 6-second window between stress and reaction, but only if you remember to look for it. Ubuntu asks you to reach out and let yourself be received, but only if you choose it over the old habit of managing alone. Dharma asks you to notice the pattern in what makes you feel alive, but only if you keep paying attention long enough to see it. Alignment asks you to protect your own place in the balance, but only if you keep choosing it meeting after meeting, week after week. None of those are one-time realizations, they're practices, And practices only work if there's a mechanism for returning to them when you've drifted, which, if you're human, you will. That's what integration is, not a fifth technique. The infrastructure that makes the other four sustainable instead of aspirational. Clinically, this maps onto something we already know well. Insight only interventions have a ceiling. Behavior change research is fairly consistent on this point. The return to practice after lapse is a stronger predictor of long term outcome than the sophistication of the initial insight. Integration, as I'm using it here, is a direct application of that principle to a 5-pillar stress framework. Here's what integration looks like as an actual practice starting tonight. Before you go to sleep, ask yourself one question. Which of the 4 pillars did I live today, even briefly? Not perfectly, briefly is enough. And which one is quietly asking for more of my attention? That's it. 10 seconds of reflection most nights. Not a system, not a checklist, just a nightly return, because the return repeated is what turns knowing into living. Do this for 1 week and notice what shifts. Also, if this is giving you something useful, subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants on YouTube and Instagram. I drop a new Mood Eye practice every week, and this one closes the loop on the full framework. So make sure you click the link. That's all for now. I'm Marcelyn Bailey. As always, take good care.